What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of a Thinking Man's podcast. For everybody listening, please take the time now to go ahead and then subscribe to the Muscle Media Network channel if you haven't already. Leave us a comment, like the video, share it around, ring the bell. Tommy and I both offer online coaching. Links for that will be below. And so I'm with my man, Tommy Styles. This guy is recording this podcast for you guys less than 24 hours out from getting on stage. The man is just a productive machine, even walking around desert dry peeled. So we're going to talk peak weeks and we're going to make it concise, for the sake of Tommy and the sake of Tommy's coach, so that they can continue to do their thing and land this plane. Tommy, how you feeling, buddy?
I feel good. I think this is the least stressful day of the year for me. The day before a contest is one of the most chill days I have in life. So this is the 8th one I've had in life.
Yeah.
There should be no stress. You just eat, pose, take pics, do what your coach says to the letter. You're going to get a tan, check in. All of the back end stuff should have been done, leading into it. NPC card, all that stuff. We can get into that, but it's really a low stress day.
It should be, yeah. And I always felt that way. Even more so about the show day itself. I know it's easy for people to get worked up, and especially in New Jersey, anytime that I will put a client into a show in New Jersey, I know that I have to try to make an effort to be there, because the core expediter group does a great job at stressing guys out for no reason at all. And when you're at 30 of these shows, eventually you just learn to tell your clients, like, hey, that guy's going to come around and stress everybody out. Don't fucking listen to him. But I've always felt that way about show day, where I almost feel like I talk and socialize and network more backstage at a bodybuilding contest that I'm competing in than the entirety of the 24 weeks prior to that show combined.
Absolutely.
So, man, I'm excited for you. Especially, I feel like seeing the way that your season has been kind of scheduled out. You've been just walking around peeled for a bit. You have to go into the last show, sweep it, win the overall pretty handedly. And then that kind of gets you on the board, gets you back on stage. I know you didn't love the last time that you were on stage, so that kind of put a solid showing on paper, so to speak. And then now it is really just no stress. You kind of just got to walk in and show them what you've been working on. How has this, being that you're competing multiple times in a season, how does this, peak week, final week, how does the strategy look compared to the last one? You don't have to go into details. You pay Dom for those specific details, but generally, do you feel like you guys were shooting for peeled and a little flat last time and then a little more full this time, or give us kind of a little bit of a comparison?
I think the goal is just to be peeled the first time, and then in seeing how my body responds the last 2 weeks coming into this one, I think for anybody, if it's your first show of the season and you're planning to do multiple, your first show look will probably be your most depleted. And then you'll catch a little bit of a rebound coming out of the show. Hydration, sodium will probably go up, food can go up. And then from there, I feel like the look only gets better going into the second show and then beyond. Yeah. So when we see all these pros do multiple shows a year, you see a top level amateur run a couple or run the whole gamut and do 9 months of dieting, basically. Like, as long as your body's not smashed and, going the other way, you should theoretically get better the longer you diet, because you're just more and more and more responsive. I joke, like, I haven't sat down any time in the last few months without like my ass getting sore, because I just don't have any body fat on it. Yeah. There's just like permanent indents into it of like, I have a walnut, that shredded glute look. So when you spend enough time like that, that becomes what your new homeostasis is. And then everything, going into the first show is just like posing practice is like still, I don't know. It's just my whole life is routine on being a competitive bodybuilder, like a contest bodybuilder right now. I don't like where you're at. That feels like another lifetime for me. And that's where I was at for years. So I think mentally, I'm just like, this is where I'm at. I'm a prep bodybuilder. When it's time to be an off-season bodybuilder, then I'll do the things I need to do again. But so I think, you know, this look is inevitably going to be a fuller look because we were able to push food. I changed my training to actually more of a volume approach with just really, really call it lightweight, but it's challenging right now for where I'm at.
Yeah, you've talked about that on your YouTube channel, on the Tommy Styles YouTube channel. You've talked about that in some of these prep vlogs that you're putting out, which have been awesome. But for the people that haven't seen those yet, talk to me about that. Because we have kind of talked through your prep here, and you know, we know how you typically enjoy training and how you train all through the off season. And then there was a point in the prep where you made the comment where you were like, I have to just train like a California pro from the 90s at this point. Like you're going in and just kind of winging it and kind of pump chasing it because that's just what the body can require, what the situation calls for. So then what's the evolution then to, because I saw that you're doing more giant sets, more pump sets. How has that looked and how has that been for you in the gym?
I mean, it's still a challenge. Every training is still very, you know, I don't have much as far as stamina and endurance, but I feel that I have no inflammation. Like I'm able to, there's just not a lot of breaks. So, you know, for instance, on delts, it's like a set of front raises right into a set of lateral raises, right into a set of dumbbell presses, back into a set of dumbbell lateral raises, into a set of bent over dumbbell laterals, into the reverse pec deck. And it's just boom, 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 sets of 10. And the muscle's swollen with blood, but you're not taxing the CNS. I mean, I'm a guy who can dumbbell press 115s, 120s, and I'm pressing 45s, but I'm changing the tempo. I'm keeping it all on the muscle. There's no pausing. So on any body part, like there's no 3 breaths and go for another rep. It's all continuous rhythmic motion through the training. There's no long rest periods. Everything is as quick as I can go. Not letting the muscle really recover, but you don't need the long recovery times because the joints and the CNS aren't being affected. So it's been obviously a sharp twist from where I'm normally at, but it's taught me a lot about bodybuilding. Like what I do can kind of be flirt with power building because I've needed size and I am partial to wanting to push for strength. That's what I love. And obviously, you know, Dusty's my mentor and my training partner, and that's what we do. Jordan Peters is very influential. So if anything, it's shown me, and then in talks with Dom about how we're going to approach things coming out of this show into the next goal, and then into the off season from there of, you know, I'm going to probably be making some, not permanent changes, but just some things I'll be doing differently than I did in 2022 and this prep altogether to where, you know, I don't think giant sets are the move. I think you need a lot of insulin to make those work for you,
and superior genetics.
I do think volume has its place, and I'm a guy who's bashed volume before in a way, so I'm not now going to switch camps and that's bullshit, don't train. I'm just going to continue to evolve. Like I'm 32, you know, I just thought about this the other day. I spent most of 2022 rehabbing my knee and training through it or around it. I don't want to have to keep training through and around injuries because of the way I train causing it. So if anything, it's just a maturation thing and realizing, you know, if I want to get better as a bodybuilder and I want to get better for the stage, and that's what I'm doing all of this life that we do for, then I need to, you know, put my emotions to the side, maybe do some things in the gym that I might not want to do, but are better for my physique. So I think that training change 2 weeks ago is what allowed my physique to look rounder and fuller right now. So if anything, the condition should be equal to where it was 2 weeks ago. I'll just have more fullness, which will make me look harder. And then it's just a better blend. And that's what peaking is scratched. Anybody young enough who's not doesn't have a few shows and a lot of muscle put onto their frame, this might the whole peak isn't as extensive for you, but I think as you get enough shows in and you have a bit of muscle, then you can start to get more advanced with the peaks as far as like how do you blend fullness and condition. Because I'm someone who could like over condition and come in shredded, but it wouldn't look good on my frame next to others.
Yeah.
And then if I come in too full, I lose my lines and separation. And that is I'm not big enough to where too full looks good. And I don't have the muscle bellies. So it becomes this game of, it really is meal by meal. I mean, right now, like I'm at home checking in with Dom every 2 hours and he gives me the meal. Like it's like a quarterback in the huddle calling the plays. Like it's meal by meal. I have no idea what meal 2 is. I don't know what meal 3 is. I don't even know how many meals I'm having today. So it's very much communicative. The final week, I would say up until Thursday for most people is probably pretty standard. And then Thursday through Sunday or Thursday through the show, if you have a coach who gives you a plan, like a preloaded plan, they don't know what they're doing. They should be getting multiple check-ins, multiple pictures, weights. Your water might be meal to meal. So like you don't consume anything outside of what you're told that final week. And I think a lot of people, you coach, you've had a lot of good athletes on stage lately nailing their peaks. I think the last 7 days, the biggest thing that makes or breaks the peak week is stress. And then for whatever reason, and I've seen people do this, people that were like spot on, all prep, they don't miss, they don't like everything's perfect. For whatever reason, they get a wild hair up their ass to do something they haven't done for months ever before. And then they just like, hey, I tried this new powder, this new greens powder, and now I can't stop,
It's just a lack of critical thinking because your brain at that point is just shot. And
yeah.
I don't like to generalize, but it just feels like a lot of the guys that I talk to, am friends with, that I help, that take it all the way in terms of getting on stage and being a competitive bodybuilder, and especially if you do the work and you're in shape, a lot of us are or were like pretty impulsive, wild dudes to begin with, and then we found the structure of bodybuilding. But because there are no rules, like we've talked about, you take that kind of impulsive nature and then just the craziness that is a in shape brain, and you get some funny stuff. I've been there. I've been that client that like is following back up with my coach 2 days out, like, can it be lightly salted or does it have to be plain rice cakes? And it's like, Jesus Christ, just get the rice cakes. Like it's like I'd look back and realize some of the questions that I've asked and things that I stressed about in peak week are just completely insane. But also I think it's a good experience to be that person and live through it, because now, like you said, we help people, and I know to tell people these things. I know to communicate absolutely clearly. Otherwise, there's a chance that someone's going to do the wrong thing. But I wanted to get back to one of the things that you said, because I was going to ask you 2 things, and you kind of alluded to them before I even got a chance to follow back up with you. But one, I was going to ask you if you thought that there was a visual difference to the physique moving to that kind of quicker paced, higher like density work, like the giant sets, a lot of work in a short amount of time. And you did mention it, but I'd like you to elaborate on it, that you do look rounder. And then also I was going to ask if there was any of these kind of revelations or things that you've come to walking around and training just peeled for as many weeks as you have now, if there were things that would carry over that you would bring to the off season, if you see any application for some of this stuff, and if it winds up being more of a blend of the slag iron work that you want to do, but then also at the end, or wherever you might see fit in the training, if you're going to keep any of that stuff into the off season.
Yeah, which that second question, we can do a whole podcast on that one, but I'll touch on it here too. This is prep Branham. Your first question is just gone for me.
About the training and how it's made you look.
The look. I think, and then Dom has said too, like it's just a rounder, fuller look. Post workout pics are hard, but there's just more roundness to the muscle bellies. Chest, delts, legs have so we changed from the bike to incline treadmill as the cardio. I've kept cardio in up until yesterday, and I started back up the day after not the second day after the show, so the Monday after the first show. So I don't know if that's helped. I've also only had 2 leg days in the last 3 weeks because we pull legs like 13 days out. Or no,
no kidding.
Sorry. 11 days out is my last leg day.
What do you do, like the Thursday before?
The Tuesday before is my last session.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And I go, pretty hard, and there's quite a bit of inflammation into that 7-day out mark. But I just think it's a rounder look. The muscle bellies, if anything, the separation got deeper because the muscle bellies are rounder and fuller, and there's been more blood pushed during the training.
And we talked about it, like, not to cut you off, but we've talked about it, like, you don't necessarily want to use these tactics in prep as like an, oh shit, I'm behind. I don't think that should be like a driving force of fat loss, but you were in a spot where you had done all the work already in terms of getting the fat off. And then so now it's like, what little tweak can I make? One, to preserve my health throughout the end of this prep, and then two, it will give you a little bit of a different look. And there will also be I think a greater demand for food with this type of training than what you can muster from yourself just from straight sets at this point. Like the loads and the intensity are not there just from straight sets. So then kind of adding this density and this volume to the work, I think there is going to be a higher demand for food. And then, like, if we're going to nerd talk it, there's better uptake when you are eating, 1,000 grams of carbs a couple of days before the show. I think there is something to that.
It's a lot of whole food too. It hasn't been just like we're going to do a high day with sushi and Five Guys and bullshit.
Right.
Like every day, the base diet has been higher since the last show, to the point where the non-training day, not really any different than the training days coming into this show. And then now it's just been, I do 4 training days during peak week. Granted, the sessions aren't, 30, 45 minutes, but there's just a lot of food. Like you said, is, 300 plus grams of rice, multiple meals a day, sweet potatoes, fats stay pretty high for me just to like hold the load.
Yeah.
So I do think, the type of training, you're partitioning nutrients the best you have all year because of where you're at sensitivity wise. So I'm watching it all happen. I mean, I feel even in just random posing practice, I'm connecting to muscles more. Waking up flat, I still connect better to the muscles than I was 2 weeks ago. So all in all, I know it'll be just a different look. And then I feel like I learned a lot about aldosterone and that effect during this week because my water fluctuations throughout the day were perfect. Like I was waking up the same weight every day for like 5 days straight. And that's just a matter of having all your like water, sodium, bedtimes, wake up time, everything is just
all of it.
Mapped out. The telmisartan's huge for when we talk about aldosterone control. Wake up flat, drink water, have food through the day. Post workout, you should be fuller, but it's not to the point where you have like skin folds. And if that's the case, you're still fat.
Yes.
So if anything,
you're ready, that post workout look. Yeah, I was gonna say, same comment. Yeah. And let's hear it. What are you weighing in that setting post right now?
Post, it depends on the day,
Yeah,
but most of the time I'm like 231. Waking up, I've been 228.
that's a big motherfucker, man. That's awesome.
And then,
Because that's your stage look. Like I get it. There's a consistency, and you know, in your setting, the way that Dom has peaked you, the way that we help our clients, I want to see the context all throughout. Send me fasted, send me after meal one with how much water, send me all this, right? But the fasted look, a lot of times I notice when you get guys ready, the fasted look quickly becomes the worst look of the day.
yeah, it should be.
Where it should be, yeah, because that's so far removed from the setting in which that you're going on stage. The closest way to replicate that is that post-workout look. There's going to be a couple meals in, there's going to be X amount of water, you're going to have a pump in the chosen muscles that you want to have it in. That's about as close as you can get to what you can look like on stage, or what it should look like on stage. So if that's a good look, like you said, you have good fullness and roundness, but everything is still hard and hydrated and pressed up against the skin, that's what you want. Just walk out like that.
Yeah. And I jog back to this point for any, because we have a lot of listeners who maybe they're first timers, haven't done a peak, maybe they're never nailed a peak week. Like, I urge you to not react to any set of pictures you take during the week, because you're going to take tons.
Yeah.
Take them, send them, and then just do whatever you were told to do. Stay calm, breathe. Don't get worked up over one set of pictures. A lot can change. If you got to the week fat free, which if you had a good coach, you will, everything's going to be all right. And that's, I've seen guys wake up, or they've sent me their check-ins followed by some self-depreciating comment. I look like shit. What do you want me to do? Like, I want you to chill right now and just eat this meal, drink some water. You'll probably look better. And 2 meals in, you'll look better. You go train, you'll feel better. Like, relax.
Yeah.
The show is this day. I don't care what you can look like hell on Monday. If Saturday,
You look like hell on Thursday morning, brother. As long
yeah,
as that's not the morning of the show, we're all right.
dude, I've seen people look kind of like meh at weigh-ins, and then I see them the next
Yeah.
day, and I'm like, God damn.
Yep.
So controlling your mental that final week, like, and that I've learned that even for me, I've learned that this, like, I don't react to my pictures. I just send them to Dom and let him do what he's got to do. I'm busy enough with my own work and my own clients. I don't have time to think about myself. That's why I paid someone else.
Yeah.
And I get it. I get, where a competitor comes from. They've been working so hard for this. They want it so bad, but don't self-sabotage yourself by wanting something so bad that you inevitably like throw yourself off the ledge, when all you need to do is do what you've been doing the whole prep. Eat your meals, track everything. You and I make our own schedules. We work from home technically. Like, I recommend people that have normal jobs, I would not work Thursday or Friday before the show. I think you could work through Wednesday if you don't have the ability to get the whole week off, but definitely be at home Thursday and Friday, because those are the day that probably your coach needs to see multiple pictures. And it's doable, but you don't want to be at work taking pictures in the bathroom. You don't want to have your scale. It's not optimal. You put a lot of money into this show. You put a lot of money into this hobby. If you made it to the final week, like, take 2 days of work. You probably got PTO. Just Thursday and Friday before the show, stay at home, relax, kick the feet up. Don't take on any stress. That's kind of like, I'm thinking of things I'm going to tell my clients, or I have told people, is like, man, just set yourself up for success that final week.
Yeah. Let me go back to you. I want to lasso you back in though, because I feel like there's probably going to be some gems. Anything that you're going to carry over from this like extended prep process that you're going through into the off season? You made it a point to kind of talk about the idea of maybe using some of this stuff for longevity, for health. Like you said, like if your training is forcing you to spend 6 months rehabbing your knee, that's 6 months that your legs aren't getting better. So what are some of these things that you're going to take from this and carry over to the off season?
So I think, I've collaborated thoughts with Dom just because his training style when he was bodybuilding is polar opposite than mine for the most part, other than the intensity. I just think I'm probably going to lean towards more volume. And you know, it's a matter of being realistic. Like, I'm 32. How much more strength am I really going to accrue on a lot of the movements that I've been doing to the point that it's beneficial to getting on stage? Now, if I changed my goal, for sure,
Right.
I can pull 700. I can load up the leg press and the hack squat and the pendulum and all these pieces, and I can push for personal strength, but that doesn't tie into what my goal is. So a big part of this prep is like redrawing the parallels of like, what do I do all of this for? What is my goal? And I know what my goal is. Like, I'm trying to be the best stage bodybuilder I can be. I'm trying to improve my physique because there's a vision in my head, and you can start to sharpen the vision every time you diet down and you see what needs what. And, you know, you and I were just talking the other day about, you know, what does your physique need? And then I'm in a place where I'm in prep. So I'm looking at bodybuilding completely different than I was at the peak of my off season, you know, last year, where if you asked me that question then, I'd have been like, mass, everything needs to be thicker. And now it's like, well, what actual body parts need to grow, and how do I prioritize my training? If you're newer and younger and under 5 years training, strike everything you just heard. You do need to train the way I trained to get here, and a lot of us do. That's the fun part. I think the game gets more intense when you have to, like, you know, for me, I can look at it and be like, all right, my delts respond to how I train them. I probably don't need to do too many things different there. I just want to keep making them freakier. My back, I know how to train my back. I just need continued application of effort, time. I know what movements work. I know how to pull from the floor in a way that keeps my recovery in a good place. And that's the one thing I need in my training plan for quote unquote therapy. I have to have one pulling movement from the floor once per week to deal with my demons, if you have to call it like that. That's just my thing. But I think, yeah, more volume. I'm probably going to get away from a traditional push-pull legs approach and just more of a, call it a bro split, but I think I'm going to call it a Tommy split. Like, what do I need to be the best I can be? And it's going to be, no one should copy it, because it's literally years and years and years of feedback, and then feedback from this prep going into it of like, all right, this is what I need. But I think if I had to break it down generally, it's going to be a lot more progression of the volume of certain exercises rather than the load. So say I'm doing, you know, 7 plates a side on the leg press, knowing I could probably go up, but it maybe going up in weight, I slightly start to get more mechanical advantage, or I slightly start to bounce out of the hole, or I slightly start to skew the movement little by little just to get more weight, which inevitably we all do. I've done it. You've done it. Everyone goes through it if you're doing the logbook and progressive overload. It's not wrong totally, because I do think you do need to expose your body to strength adaptations. You have to expose your CNS, especially when you're coming up. You have to, I mean, you got to train kind of reckless. There has to be the ability to find out if you have that dog in you, and you can do crazy stuff. You can't come out of the womb thinking technique, because you're never going to learn intensity that way. I don't care who you are. And I've proven that with myself. I've proven that with countless other people. You know, a lot of young people are like, how should I be training? Should I be focusing on this? Nope, you need to train like an animal. Those are always my words, like train like an animal. I'll let you know if your form is getting too bad to where I want to change it, but I want to like actually wonder if you're going to be able to get the rep in the training video you send me. But back to me in the leg press, like, so instead of pushing the weight on that exercise, say it's written out as like 2 sets of 12, and the next week I'll go for 3 sets of 12 with that same weight. So it's still progressive overload, but it's just going to be more about volume. And the way Dom, you know, had my off season structured last year, and the way I know we'll be able to push things coming out of like me being the leanest I've ever been, is lots of food, lots of, you know, para-workout nutrition driven around driving blood into the muscle. I mean, my pumps were outstanding between what I do for pre-workout and intra-workout supplementation. And then you just create that window to where it's like, I can funnel 400 to 600 grams of carbs plus all the sodium and the pump ingredients and the things I take to really blow out the muscle during the training. And if I'm not smashing my CNS, to me in my head, I'm like, if I'm not so inflamed from beating my logbook, I should have better digestion, which means I'll have a higher appetite, which means maybe I know I'm going to have to push a lot of food, but maybe it won't be like utter misery of bludgeoning down chicken and rice and beef and rice to the point that it's always been. Maybe everything will work better because I'm not hammering myself into the dirt. So all of that in my head is where it's at right now. And if once I put it on paper, you know, you and I will talk about it, but it's just where I think I'm at in my journey. I think, you know, how much stronger am I going to get? And what's the turnaround? I was doing more weight in 2021 than I did in 22 and 23 on a lot of movements. And I've posted side by sides of those. Like I'm noticeably bigger in every body part, more fullness, more roundness. So I think if I had to, I've just evolved from that. The load and strength is everything, because at some point hypertrophy is lost when you're chasing strength. And I have the ability mentally to find a way to move any amount of load, no matter how I do it, but that's not always going to be the best for bodybuilding. And we're talking longevity. Like I've already had a knee issue that still flares up from time to time. So I know I can't train my legs. I know I can't get on a hack squat or a pendulum and just load plates for 16 weeks. I won't come out of it functional.
Right.
So it's more of a game of like, I need to get through a whole off season into another potentially long prep competitive season, and then be able to do it the next year and the next year. So it's more of like looking at the big picture versus just like, man, I just want to go train heavy today and show everybody on Instagram how strong I am. Like there's more to it. So I just think I'll probably be doing a lot more volume and progression of the volume rather than loads.
Yeah, I mean, you pointed it out to me and put it in a great way that kind of made sense for me. You know, I had asked you about my off-season physique right now, and I have not pulled from the floor in a long time. And it's because I felt like when I did, I would get pretty strong, and it would correlate to me being more beat up than anything else. It didn't really correlate to my physique improving. And that's because I was just pulling to improve or satisfy my ego and not my physique. And it did always turn into a load chase. And you reminded me, we talked about it a couple of days ago, and you were like, dude, it doesn't need to eventually get to 6 and 7 plates. It can be perfecting it with 4 plates. You know, and you pointed out to me the way that Dorian did it. Like could he have pulled 7 or 8 plates from the floor? You're goddamn right. He could have pulled whatever the fuck he wanted off the floor. But he saved it until the end of workouts, and then he was doing it with 455 max, which for how big and strong he was not a heavy weight relative to what he could do. So I think it just becomes, as we get older, we've both kind of gone through this journey where we find that, yes, there needs to be a balance of the heavy basics, the hard basics, but there is also this like ever-changing formula, I think, of the relationship between volume, intensity, total workload, and the movements that you are choosing. And it's like this ever-sliding formula where the earlier you are in the journey, it can be more on the heavy basics and a decent amount of volume too. And then you get to a certain point where you're strong and pretty advanced. And if you're going to continue to do those heavy basics at a very high intensity, the amount of work has to come down. It just has to. But then it's like, well, I'm not maybe given enough stimulus to some of these other body parts. Like, and we've talked about it on the body part training series that we did. Not all of the body parts, even within the same body, respond. Like my legs have responded way differently than some of the body parts, up top. So the training can and should kind of be different depending on what your strong body parts are. And like you said, like, your delts and your back fucking don't change anything. But some of the other body parts that you want to improve, I think it makes sense, even if this is so in such simple bro science terms. I think if nothing else, it's a new type of stimulus that you're going to provide to these other body parts that haven't responded the way that you would love for them to respond. You've always given them kind of straight set, slag iron, super high intensity, and it's resulted in what it's resulted in. So now you want a different result. It makes sense that the training should look somewhat different. It should be a new type of stimulus. And I think that alone is progressive in and of itself. It's a new type of workload that you're forcing the muscle to recover from. But also, like you said, it's not so super taxing. Like I think like your chest and your legs, yeah, I think it could benefit from having more volume instead of smashing your joints and possibly, driving yourself to an injured state where you're not training and improving at all. Um, it's and you're going to come to find too, like, you know, as you progress through the off season, even and come out of the show, that same formula is going to change as well. Like once you get to like you being 2 months into the off season, your training is going to look different than being 6 months into the off season because your food is going to be higher, your body fat is going to be a little bit higher. So I think just hearing all this from someone that's as far into the game and as established now at this point, both as a bodybuilder and a coach, and not even just as a bodybuilder, but as someone that has lived and breathed the off-season lifestyle and now has shown that you've nailed the extended prep phase as well. Like you've mastered all the different phases of bodybuilding. So to hear all that from you, I think it should be really valuable to some of the younger guys and gals that listen. And then even to some of the guys and gals that are around our age or older, because there should be this kind of ever evolving, like you said, it's a maturation. I would love to go in and just fucking smash myself with deadlifts and even barbell back squats. If I was just choosing like emotionally what I would like to do, I like to go in and barbell back squat and spend an hour of my day just in the squat rack before I do anything else. But you need to kind of assess where you're at, especially as you get more advanced, and do what is required more so than what you want to do sometimes. It's the same way with the food. There are times, like I've talked about, kind of moving to all whole foods, even as I'm eating more than I ever have. There are times that I want to just go home and have whey and cream of rice or whey and cereal. There are times that I want that. But it's not about what I want, it's about what I need or what works best. And it's the same with the training. It's even the same with the drugs. I'm kind of ranting now at this point, but man, there are times that I just want to run an entire bottle of growth a day and just say, fuck it. But then my blood pressure is going to be fucked. My sleep will be even worse. I probably won't be able to even close my hands around a dumbbell at that point. So, it's cool to hear, buddy, because we've touched base and I've kind of turned some of these episodes along the way into just interviews of you about your contest prep. So it's been cool to see the evolution, especially now knowing you're sharing a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff and how you look leading into it. And you look fucking insane, dude. So it's cool to see.
Yeah.
What do you think? Anything else? I think it's time to let you go and let you go eat.
Yeah, we can let's just close it out with three things, or let's do something even number, 4 things for a peak week, successful peak week. Because you got a lot of clients, you've been peaking. Yeah. I got a whole back end of the year with prep. So what are 4 things? We'll just round robin.
4 things for a successful peak week. I'm just going to take the obvious one then if I'm going first, and it's to get the fat off first and foremost. Start the week ripped.
Yeah, no, that's look like you're in your peak week a week before peak week.
Yeah, looked like you could have gone on stage the Saturday that you checked in at 2 weeks out.
Yeah. Mine, I've already touched on it, but it matters so much is stress. Stay cool, man. Nothing. Don't deal with anything that doesn't need to be immediately dealt with till after the show. Don't Don't freak out about your pictures. Don't freak out about anything. Keep doing the same thing. Don't do any crazy, wild things you haven't done before, your coach hasn't talked about. No new sauces, no new powders, no new anything.
Right.
No new, literally, no new movements, nothing.
Yeah.
The formula has been solidified at that point. Leave it be.
Yeah, the stress, honestly, more than any of them. I think that because I have just watched people melt themselves with their brain. Like I'm talking, I'm not going to name drop, but like been exposed to like some of the biggest names and physiques in the industry and have watched people melt down backstage and their brain ruins how their body physically looks. Um, four things. So be fat free, don't stress. I think communicating every little detail, anything that might get you out of, like you were just saying, don't change anything. If anything does need to change or you feel like it needs to change, as a client, you just have to communicate with the coach. The coach should be completely in the driver's seat at this point. And it should be, like you said, take your pictures, give me the objective information that I need, give me some type of subjective information as to how you're feeling, how heavy are your legs, how's your sleep, how's the digestion. Be mindful of all that stuff. But other than that, like spit out the information that your coach needs like a computer and then turn your brain off. Go about the rest of your day. Figure out other shit to go do. Even if you did take time off work and you're just chilling, spend some time doing some hobbies and some bullshit that you normally don't do. Kick your feet up, turn on the Xbox, turn on Netflix, and just fucking cool it. Yeah.
No, I think my last one is I'll quote Kai Green, as I have before. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. NPC card, show registration. If you're an athlete that poses to music, have that done. All of that needs to be done before the final week. Do not wait till the last 7 days to try to handle that type of back end admin stuff. Go into the week. The only thing you need to do is what your coach tells you to do. You are a complete robot and you're reactive to whatever they tell you. Do not procrastinate. That stuff all becomes available to be done weeks before the final week. Same thing. Your coach, I try to let my people know this is the list of foods you'll need. I have no idea how, what, and when they'll be used.
Yeah.
But this is what you're going to need the final week. Don't run out of things. You don't want to send hey, I'm out of beef. Why didn't you get enough beef? Overbuy. You can freeze it. You can toss it. It's the final week, whatever. I've literally left shows. I've left food in the fridge at hotels at shows. I've tossed fish.
Oh yeah.
It is what it is. Like this, you put so much money into this final week. Don't run out of things, because when you do, you're going to have a panic moment. You're going to be stressed having to tell your coach, I'm out of this, I'm out of that. What do I do? Don't do that. If you have to travel for your show, plan ahead, make the proper travel arrangements. If you have to fly, do not try to fly in 48 hours, 24 hours before the show. Get there ahead of time. Set your flight up to where you have a couple days in the climate, in the atmosphere, whatever. That, and you're set up if there's an airline delay, a suitcase gets lost, whatever, something uncontrollable happens, you still have a time buffer to where you can still salvage things. Don't go cheap that final week if you do have to travel. Don't try to, they provide host hotels for a reason. If it's, as long as it's not hygienically gross, like stay in the fucking place closest to the show. Don't try to find something that's $30 cheaper a night that puts you 30 miles out of town, away from all the lifts and rideshare stuff. Like, make your life stress-free by handling everything.
Yeah.
And then financially, you have already noticed this stuff, but make sure that final week you have a bodybuilding fund ready to use for peak week expenses, because the NPC card, the show registration, if you're doing crossovers,
tickets for friends or your coach,
whatever,
pass for your coach, whatever,
you're gonna $500 to $1,000 that final week.
And this bonus one, absolutely do not do your own tan. Absolutely do not have a friend do your tan.
Nope. It's $130.
Just do the show tan. I as a standard safety procedure, that is what I tell people. Yes, some of the companies, maybe some of the girls that they're sending out are the best, whatever, but they're doing everybody. You're all going to look like that.
Yeah.
I would honestly, if you're better off looking the same as everyone else and not standing out for having a shitty or an oddball tan than trying to do it yourself and thinking that you're going to do better than the girls backstage. It's just not going to happen. And there are so many people that, you know, I've been more recently physically at bodybuilding shows this year, more so than in the past. I don't think that there is anything that will not disqualify you, but immediately just push you to the end of a lineup and force you to stick out like a sore thumb for the wrong reasons, more than having a fucked up oddball looking tan. You come out looking green, you come out looking like you only put one coat on and you needed another 4. Any of these things, I have seen it where the guy that probably would have looked the best and won with just a standard tan is not winning and not placing where they should be just because of that. So
Yeah.
that, and if you stick with the venue tan, the girls back there are going to be able to oil you. They will touch you up if something goes wrong. Right before you go out, you can walk up to a girl and say, hey, how does it look? Do I need more oil? Whatever. I like to put it in the hands of professionals. So that would be my final bonus peak week tip. And with that, we're going to wish our friend Tommy Styles a good luck tomorrow at the Dennis James. Bring it home, my friend. And this was another episode of a Thinking Man's podcast. Until next time, guys, we are out.